Yeah.
Thank you.
You've seen both sides, being a chief labor officer and being a mediator when it comes to labor issues as well.
Yeah.
What are your views on what's been going on between government and organized labor?
Oh, it's something like that. They have to discuss, you see, because in labor relations, you need to get to an agreement, because you don't get what you want. You get a compromise. And so there should be a compromise between what the government wants and what the workers want. And that is, they have to negotiate in good faith. Okay. As the labor laws even say.
Yeah. You spent most of your productive years as chief labor officer.
Yes, as a labor officer, but ended up as chief labor officer.
Chief labor officer.
Yes, so I worked for 38 years there.
Absolutely, that's a long time.
And ended up as chief labor officer.
When we say we want productivity from labor, and we on the outside say we want productivity from the public sector, and you're on the inside, does it seem a bit impossible?
It's possible, you see, but productivity in service organizations is difficult to measure. Okay. You see, in productive organizations, it's easier to measure. And I remember one white telling me in Washington that even there, they find it difficult to measure productivity as regards service organizations. You see, because you go there and you work and you work for 8 hours and you think that you have done some productive work. It depends on what you should have done and what you are doing. But in the private sector, where they do production, is easier because they say produce 10 and you're able to produce 20 within the same period. Then you have increased productivity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but in the service sector, it is rather difficult.
How about when people sit on documents that are supposed to be signed and have things moving, and the bureaucratic nature of the public sector? That one is
actually very bad, because when you are working to be paid. You see, because that's why the pay you get, we call it earned pay. You should earn it. Okay. And when you are going to earn your pay, you need to do what you have been asked to do. And I don't see why you should sit on something which is your responsibility to do. To be frank with you, throughout my service, for the 38 years in the public service, in the civil service, to be precise, I think I never sat on anything I should have performed earlier. And because of that, most of the heads I worked with, as well as the political heads, the ministers as well, liked what I did for them.
Sometimes you are given the impression that working in the public sector is obviously very different from working in the private sector. They say that, okay, productivity is in two ends. We need the input so that we can come out with the output, and the inputs are not available in the public sector. Back then, when you were chief labor officer, did you have everything?
Not everything. It was difficult at times because you need to get your resources from the government kitty. And if the money is not there, it will be difficult to get it. Okay. You see, what it is that normally it is the taxes that you get plus other donor contributions from outside that you use to get the consolidated fund. And if there is no money in the consolidated fund, it will be difficult. So you need to justify everything that you want to do. That you want to do 10 inspections. Why are you doing the 10 inspections? Tell us what you are going to get out from the inspections that you do, like the labor office. So we say that, yes, I'm doing these inspections to see that employers are complying with the laws governing the employment of labor. And if that is done, we have peace at the workplace. So if you're able to convince the government, then you get what you want.
Having worked as a labor officer, including being the chief labor officer in 1994, you tell me, making it 38 years in civil service. And having been with the National Labour Commission also for 8 years, it means that you've seen both sides of the divide. You know the arm twisting tricks that Labour will use, which is their right anyway, and then you know how difficult government could also be. Now, how can we ensure that Labour is productive? How can government also make sure that it can get the best out of Labour?
You see, if the government wants to get the best out of Labour, then they shouldn't only pay salaries and wages. They should also pay for the money that is used to procure equipment and other things. For example, you are paying them. If you are paying them and they don't have the means to do those jobs they should do, it becomes difficult. It means that they are getting paid for doing almost nothing. You see, but if the funds are there, then it is easier to tell them why you have been giving the funds but you are not performing. You see, and you need to get money for your vehicles, for your stationery, other things, and if you are not getting them, it will be difficult.
Tell us what you think about this 14.5% pay raise for the Labour, organized Labour in the public sector.
Yeah, you see, what it is that in negotiation, you reach a compromise. And once the compromise has been reached, we take it that is something, they will not like it. You see, they would have liked to get, say, 20%. But the 40%, the government or the one who is giving to you, because here, those who are involved, we are talking about the minimum wage. Those people involved are not only the government, but they include the private sector.
The private sector.
You see, that's why we call it tripartite. The government as an employer, and then the employers association and the workers, organized workers.
Absolutely.
And so, when they are doing it, the minimum wage is a wage below which no employer should pay. So, if the government agrees on 14% and the private sector feels that they will not be able to pay that, they have to convince the organized labor to accept that. So the organized labor too would sit down and look at it and say that, okay, even though we are not very pleased with it, we have to accept it, because if you force them to pay more than that, it may mean that they may lay off some workers. And if workers are laid off, then these are want to increase the unemployment.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now let's look at back then, how it was like to run the public sector and now. I mean, obviously we're not faced with the same challenges we had back in your 38 years of work at within
the government service.
Within government service. It will definitely be different from now, different dispensations, different challenges. Can we really say that Labour is asking for too much because things are hard now?
You see, I wouldn't say Labour is asking for too much. You see, because what they got may be something like restoration. You see, because if you have the money and you are buying the article or something, you see, if 10 cedis can buy 1 pen, and now 1 pen would now cost more than 10 cedis, say 15 cedis, and you give the person still 10 cedis, then the person will have to look for some other 5 cedis to add.
But Labour too has not brought in the money. And so where does government pick it from?
Yes, but here too, Labour too will say that you give us the instruments, then we would wait for you.
Okay.
But as I told you, if you are talking about those working in the service area, it is difficult to know how to work on productivity. You see, in the those who are doing, because every worker either produces goods or provides services. Those producing goods is easier to measure productivity, but those providing services is difficult. But as I said, if you are producing, you have to provide services, and you are not getting the inputs, it will be difficult to get to your maximum.
So what would be your advice to both government and Labour?
I think both should try, because that's why we are calling them now social partners. because all what they are doing is that they are providing goods and services for the consumers to consume. And if they are not getting the inputs, it will be difficult for them to do it, to provide the services they should provide. In fact, all those people working in the public service, especially the civil service, are not, to me, providing goods, producing goods. They are providing services. And so the government should try as much as possible to give them the inputs to enable them to provide the services that is required for the betterment of the nation.
Thank you very much, Openyi. Openyi Obinfusu is a labor expert. We've been talking to him on this day as we mark Workers' Day here in Ghana. That's not all. Now, the president has made mention of the fact that he's very confident by end of year, all some of the measures that have been put in place, we will see a strong revival of the economy. He's also assuring that the economy is gradually coming back into shape. I'm joined over the telephone by senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School, John Gachi. Happy Workers' Day, John.
Same to you.
Anyway, but I am still here at work, and maybe you would celebrate afterwards. But tell me, what do you think about the president's take on Labour's Day?
Well, I think the president has discharged his duty as the president. He needs to assure us of where we are going in terms of the economic situation we find ourselves. He has just done that. But we all do know that all these things have some quantifying dimensions. So if the president says that we are gradually coming out of the challenges, then we want to know how much improvement in revenue generation we have recorded. We want to know how much expenditure cuts that we have experienced so far that is improving the situation. We want to know the improvement in the deficit level. We want to know the improvement in the depreciation of the currency. We want to know the improvement in the inflation level so that will resonate well with the people. So I think the president has actually encouraged all of us. But I think that the economic management team should go forward to tell us the figures that reflect the statement of the president.
TUC, on the other hand, is asking that government does not seek any IMF bailout. In fact, he's saying that some of the pieces of advice, if you like, that the IMF is giving us is what has landed us where we are now. Your take on this?
Well, I think we have not been fair to some of these institutions. Dealing with the World Bank and IMF is not the best, but it's not the worst either. If we trace our history, the World Bank and the IMF were the ones that actually defined the roadmap for our economic development up to this point. Let me take it from 2001. It was the World Bank and IMF that gave us the HIPIC initiative, for which they gave us some selected conditionalities that we followed through up to the time that we exit the HIPIC. In 2009, it was the World Bank that gave us 300 million before the economic started performing well in 2010. So we shouldn't speak as if the IMF is the woe of the country. We need to go back to history and see some of the benefits that we have chopped as a result of the assistance by World Bank and the IMF. When it becomes necessary to go to IMF, we need to be bold to go there. We went there boldly in 2001 through the HIPIC initiative. We went to the World Bank in 2009. We saw the result. If now it becomes necessary to go there, I do not think that we should go back and be blaming the IMF. That is the point I want to make, because it's as if IMF is the woes of the country, which I think is not the reflection of the reality. Hello?
Hello? Hello, John. Hi.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's go back to our general labor issue. Labor is being offered 14.5% pay raise. How do you see this telling on our wage bill?
Before I answer that question, it is difficult to accept whether 14% was given because there's a conflicting report right now. We've all heard and read about the 14.5%, but at the Midday speech, we were told that the negotiations were not concluded. So I don't know whether we should be working with the 14.5 or not. But in any case, should there be any slight increase in the wage negotiation? It is very clear that we are going to start another cycle of building up of arrears. Because I do think that as we stand currently financially, I doubt if we are going to mobilize money to start paying the new levels immediately. If we are not careful, we are going to build up arrears again. And that will create another difficulty for the finances of the country. So no matter how you look at this, it's going to have a deep toll on the finances of the country.
Right. Thank you very much, John. John Gachi is a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. Now, it's no holiday at the Makola market here in Accra. Almost all stores are open for business. The traders there are indeed concerned about the economy, and they tell us it is tough in spite of May Day celebrations. Here are some of their sentiments.
Because of the market, we are here. They don't buy anything for us. We have children in the home. We have to close them and feed them. But at times, if you come to market, they don't buy anything. So we decide today, May Day, we have to stay home with our children. But we have to come and sell so that we can feed them and close them. That's why I'm here.
But is May Day important to you at all? The celebration of May Day, what does it mean to you?
It's nothing to me. To me, myself, it's nothing to me.
Why?
Because I'm a widow. I have to sell and get food for my children.
What I say na May Day now, so holiday no mundi biana.
In fact, holiday in the Nkaya, but Krumunye, Intina, Yaba, Yeton.
Pomunya saying, Chechemu.
Ordinary days, no crap, no, Yensha down to Ade, or into Yensha and to Ade, and so son at 3 fear, a baby be all, into no Mayday, no Yabasi, Yababeton Ade, Ebiani, and then marketing me Yamaye.
It's your baboon.
And then Kuyi and quite a bathroom, and Kuyi cry, you won't say.
Then a mouse to say, and Kuyi.
Oh, see, any manner your tone, your cocoa for free, and it's China and back. Into the way now, dollar no, air cost, you know, a match as a ditono, and just the way I call.
$1 is 3 cedi. The naira is 180. The sefa is almost why we are in our motherland, we are suffering. They said they bring oil. Where is the oil money now? For us to enjoy. Children at home, they are not going to school. People are suffering. Now our guy higher baby and no crime the obi kasa person kokunu almost 3 hours me didn't transit.
Because of the economy.
Yes, because our person kunu about person also me didn't kasa ya it no crime to me and that them. Our person kunu it didn't go for kumu.
Mania ye huno anu den ye bre ye kwachia ye nanti fon kra de ye mobo ubechia evra no pa kwapu anwumre wa hwe ya de obe susu kra be bo na kambeze de obedie mame ye bre o
iti den na ofese catch president Mahama
de pese catch president ne say wo se wo be ya wonye no wonye enu nti no se yato abama no eti si yato abama no se wa wini a ye hwe no wo ma no ne ya kwazo ne ya hwe ye be se ye ho akonfo because ye bre mame asempa na me ka kire no ye bre o ye hura mane
last year America for bro ko po adwuma no enya asem to na ya ho TV ni mu enti yeso ye ni be bia ko ha na e betena enti ye sre no on ne phone kasa na o ma munye dade so ye ntina na ha so yeso ye nje ye sre na o ma be bia nko ye ma ye ne ye do no so do ye.
Those are sentiments of some unhappy traders from Makola. Anyway, time now for some business here on News Today, and the AGI Business Barometer for the first quarter of 2014 has revealed a significant dip of 90.13 in business confidence index. This represents one of the lowest in almost 4 years. The AGI attributes the dip mainly to high inflation, cedi depreciation, VAT hikes, as well as the recent forex measures introduced by the central bank.
The new version of the AGI Business Barometer, which measures the level of confidence in the business environment, received 446 valid responses with an 85% response rate from businesses. According to the AGI, although businesses begin the year with a high sense of optimism regardless of the potential obstacles of doing business, that was not the case in the first quarter of the year. Per the barometer, 60.5% of businesses did not expect an improvement in the business climate in the next 6 months owing to the economic challenges.
As far as AGI Business Barometer indicator is concerned, in the first quarter 2014, the indicator has significantly dropped. And it means that the business environment is not that good. So we need to work at it. We didn't want that long list of challenges and present it this time, but at least just an idea of what they think is biting them most. And these are the issues that came up: the depreciation of the cedi, which of course relates to inflation, Bank of Ghana directives that relates to the cedi depreciation, and the point being made here is that so far they don't think that the directives have worked. So we need to review it. It is very important. And then multiplicity of taxes. Every now and then you hear new taxes being introduced. Businesses are saying this is really affecting confidence level. And we shouldn't take it lightly because we live in a competitive world.
For the AGI, the low confidence and expectation among the manufacturing, construction and agriculture sectors revealed by the barometer remains a great source of worry.
The manufacturing sector is a sector that employs a lot. You can have one factory and it's employing about 1,000 people. In the service sector, for a particular service company to employ, say, 500, it must be a big company. But manufacturing, because of the manual nature of our manufacturing, they employ a lot more hands. So if manufacturing is not doing well, it has serious impact on employment. And therefore, we should take a special look at manufacturing. And I believe the recent pronouncement by His Excellency the President that let us patronize made in Ghana goods is really spot on, because we need to create markets for our local manufacturers. If we create the market and we are patronizing their product, then they can expand and employ our people. But at the moment, the market is dwindling because import is coming in. And why is imports coming in? Because the business environment is tough. So for manufacturing, we are not being very competitive. And if you are not competitive, what happens? It means that your market is taken away, and that is a worrying situation.
The barometer also indicated that 63.5% of businesses do not plan to employ, while about 15% are setting employment figures will decrease, a situation the AGI is equally worried about.
Once we are really seeing the lack of willingness, of employers, to engage people is really a cause for worry, and we think that we must look at it, as a country. Now, what are the reasons? The reasons are that if businesses are not doing well, definitely they cannot employ more. So we think that this business barometer survey presentation is something that needs to be taken seriously, and then we work at it because it gives clear indication about the business mood in this country, and then it covers all sectors of the economy. Now, issues of employment should be of much concern to government, managers of the economy, and for that matter, as we come out with the views of captains of industry, then we need to do a lot to turn these things around.
Meanwhile, over 50% of exporters say they are uncertain about the export volumes, and hence the exports will remain the same in the next 3 months, while only 28.4% of exporters intend to increase the exports. Abigail Admakunchi for Joy News.
President John Dramani Mahama has reconstituted the board of the heavily criticized Savannah Accelerated Development Authority. SADA will now be headed by a corporate lawyer and former deputy chairperson of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Angelina Mona Domachere. And the list includes economic dons such as Professor Mariama Awumbila of the University of Ghana, economists Dr. Hassan Idrisu and Dr. Grace Bediako from the National Development Commission. Also nominated to serve on the SADA board are Naba Sigri Bewong, and mining engineer, as well as traditional ruler representing the traditional authorities. Wilbert Tenge representing civil society organization, Dr. Samuel Ameyao from the Ministry of Finance, and Banker Sule Adam. The agency's main objective is to promote sustainable development using the notion of a forested and green north to catalyze climate change, reversal, and improve livelihoods of the most vulnerable citizens in the area. Elsewhere, Japan's Sony has said it will report a bigger than expected loss from the year to March due to extra costs from exiting its Bio PC business. The firm has also been hit by charges related to the write-down of the value of its disc manufacturing business, which makes DVDs and CDs. The consumer electronics giant now expects to report a full-year loss of 130 billion yen, translated into $1.3 billion in February. It said it would make a net loss of 110 billion yen. Sony also revised its operating income estimate to 26 billion yen, a sharp drop from the 80 billion yen forecast it made in February.